Oh my goodness, you've joined me. I was not prepared for the broadcast to have already begun, but here we are yet again. cBas After Dark, the weekend edition. I can't believe we're actually doing this, but we're going to give it a shot here. I am slowly trying to improve. There's a few things I've learned over the initial couple of nights, and things are going to be a lot smoother, I think. Drives me nuts when for instance, it drives me nuts when I sort of mess around on the settings and doing things, just sort of muttering to myself live on camera. I'm going to try not to do that. I'm going to try to be a little more interesting continuously, as though I were really on the air. That's one of the things. I don't want to be like an internet show where it's sometimes me, chatting and you hear me typing and not talking. The whole point of this is to be interesting. Now, let's see here. What to talk about? Well, let's see. It really could be a million things, but I'm interested to know. I'm interested to know a lot of things. I'm going to turn that down and look at that. All right. And a couple of interesting things. I have a couple of devices that I use kind of in the daily life and production of this show. I'm counting 4 of them in here. One of them is the device I'm actually looking into and speaking on. One of them is my old iPhone 4. One of them is my newer LG Flex Android phone. And then the other one is sort of the medium-sized tablet that it came with it. It cost 99 cents extra, and it was sort of weird, but it turns out it's kind of a piece of crap as far as tablets go. It's not very useful other than reading, playing the occasional game show game, or making notes. But fortunately, that's all I need. And I sort of use this and this in tandem. Now you see a wire coming off my phone. That's because I'm charging it. What am I charging it with? This battery here. It's a giant flat, I believe the number of mAh is 16,000 milliamp hours. I believe what that would do was 4 charges of my iPhone. I could charge my iPhone 4 times off this battery. The reason for all this is I'm switching to solar. What the hell do you mean, cBas? I mean, I am not going to charge this device, my old iPhone, this device, my current regular phone, or this device, the kind of piece of crap tablet that I still play games and read on and stuff, certainly produce stuff for this show. And I'm only going to use solar charging. I have this battery and another battery that is about half the internal energy capacity of this, and 2 solar panel devices, and I connect them to the battery during the sunny hours here. And then at night, I charge my devices. This has 78%. This is charging now up to 72%. And my iPhone is at 68%. So, I mean, I'm pretty well charged as far as my 3 devices go. The device I'm actually speaking to you on, my Surface, does not charge over USB. It needs its own special charging, of course, its own proprietary plug. So that I cannot charge with the sun quite yet. Let's look at the news. Some of the topics a couple of things I'm learning, first and foremost. One of the things I learned about the past couple of nights' shows is I hate when I start down a path and then fail to finish talking about the story, which I did a whole bunch of times, and it's driving me crazy. So hopefully I'll get better at that, following through, not getting as distracted. Here's an interesting story to start off the news. Man attempts self-immolation at Santa Clarita Valley LASD station. I believe that is the LASD, Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, right? Santa Clarita, yeah. He's drenched in gas. Lighter wouldn't ignite. Now hospitalized. I bet he is. That story came from KNX Radio. 1070 in the Los Angeles area. If you've ever been to LA, 1070 KNX is a really old school, all news all the time station. Actually, I don't even think they're all news all the time anymore. I believe that's no longer the case. They used to be an all news all the time station, kind of the cBas of Los Angeles. KCBS is San Francisco, very famous, all news, all the time radio station. And by the way, not outdated or yesterday's news kind of a thing. It's actually a very modern, very compelling news radio station. It's my favorite radio station. It's a station my dream to work. Like if I worked at KCBS for a few years, my dreams, as far as childhood dreams of where I would be on the radio, would be satisfied. KCBS is among the only stations I never actually got to work on. I don't feel like talking about that. Here's something I want to talk about. The USPS mailman, the United States Postal Service mailman, resigns after someone said they spotted him throwing mail in a San Jose dumpster. This story from NBCBayArea.com. By the way, this number you see on your screen over here is not bullcrap. If you feel like giving me a call in the next hour and talking on live web stream, please feel free. I certainly will take your call and we'll certainly talk. I don't claim to be an expert about much, but at least that's better than most of the talk show hosts who I, sort of listen to on the air a lot of the time, who do claim to be experts in everything or assume that they're experts in everything, when in fact they kind of prove over and over that they're idiots. I'm always trying to learn. Therefore, you're not going to hear me say I'm an expert in much other than, broadcast news. I know something about radio and television news and how that's done. That's pretty much it. I suppose gay pride parades. I learned a lot about the gay pride parade in the 7 years I co-anchored that gay pride parade situation. All right. The United States Postal Service employee has resigned in the Bay Area, San Francisco, California, USA, after someone said they spotted him throwing a pile of mail in a dumpster in San Jose. Spokesman said the employee was new on the job and wanted to lighten his load. It is an anomaly, according to its spokesperson. The USPS employees have been retracing the route of the new hire and searching dumpsters after he was seen lightening his load by tossing envelopes in the trash outside of a business along Lincoln Avenue in San Jose's Willow Glen neighborhood. I think that's really wild. When you have an event like this, it tarnishes the honest work and efforts of other people. Sure it does. The employee is under investigation and has resigned. He was a newbie and he's already resigned. Imagine that, being new to the post office, throwing shit in the trash, people's mail, I assume. It might have, what if it turned out to be just catalogs or, like junk mail, stuff we wish the mailman would throw away? It's not impossible to make a case for that. And yet I have a feeling, obviously, he's in so much trouble, he got fired. His name is not being released. They're not sure where or how many times he tossed mail. Post office was able to retrieve and deliver mail found in a dumpster. Again, it doesn't say the nature of the mail. That's 4 hours old, that story. So I thought that was really interesting. Train crashes. I always love a train crash. And since I'm just back from Mexico, this one really concerns me. Anahuac, Mexico, Anahuac, across the Texas border near Laredo. I have friends in Austin, Texas. I don't believe Austin is close to the border, so hopefully it's not close to my friends, Patrick and Dion. Patrick and Dion live where? Boston, Texas? No, it's Austin, Texas. That's right. But a serious bus train collision, oh man, across the Texas border near Laredo, Texas, in the town of Anahuac, Mexico. 16 dead, 22 injured. That's what NBC in Dallas-Fort Worth is reporting. I don't have any more details besides that so far, but man, that's a crappy story. What were some of the things I wanted to talk about? I made all kinds of notes. I took all sorts of stories sort of aside and wanted to make sure I brought them to people, and now I can't find a single goddamn one of them. Again, if you want to call me, 310-776-KUNZ. That's 310-776-5869. Let's look here. Oh, of course, I do have a topic I want to talk about. Obituaries, specifically news journalist, especially broadcaster obituaries. Stan Chambers. You don't know who Stan Chambers is unless you've ever seen the news done in Los Angeles. Local news, the way local news was meant to be done. Stan Chambers was with KTLA television 6 decades, over 60 years, almost as far back as the station goes. Like about 6 months after they went on the air is when Stan Chambers started to do his broadcasting career at KTLA, and he worked there for 6 decades. One of those guys who's just been on TV ever as long as anybody can remember. He covered, breaking news stories, a list of which is as long as your arm. 6 decades at KTLA, retired in August 2010 when he was 87 years old. I hope I get to be a broadcaster until I'm 87 years old. He broke the story of Rodney King, the beating of black motorist Rodney King by the LAPD. I guess KTLA received that amateur home video that everybody knows now, of the incident shot by George Holliday from his Lakeview Terrace balcony. He also covered the 1992 riots that were sparked in LA after the acquittal of those 4 white LA cops charged with using excessive force on Rodney King. He covered the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy. He covered the 1965 Watts riots. He covered the Sylmar earthquake of 1971. Not sure I know about that. And the 1984 Olympics. He's covered so much. Stan is one of those news guys that if you're a news person, there is a fair chance you know of the name. I know him because of my comedy experience through the Phil Hendry Show. Not comedy experience like I worked doing that, but like I'm a big fan of the Phil Hendry radio program. And one of the things Raj Faneen, who is one of Phil Hendry's characters, did was talk to Stan Chambers as though it were really Raj Faneen on the radio. And some guy was out where Stan Chambers was and handed him the microphone. Here, Raj Faneen from KFI AM 640 wants to talk to you. And this news anchor guy got kind of fooled into doing an interview with one of Phil Hendry's characters. It was just such funny stuff that, again, if you're a media person, you understand why this is so funny. If you're outside the news business at all, you're going to be like, what the fuck? And it's not going to make sense to you. So that's, but 91 years old, he had a great full life. I think obituaries that kind of surprise people. Bob Simon from CBS News happened a couple of nights ago now. He was in a car accident. He was on 60 Minutes. And man, I was a big fan of the Bob Simon stories on 60 Minutes for sure. And it's really sad, because he was one of those guys that, he was kind of an older guy as far as, the senior journalists go. But I mean, he was a senior journalist. He was not old or frail or decrepit or anything like that. Like he had many, many years of doing the news left and was taken too soon. So it really is kind of a sad thing that Bob Simon died. It's also sad, even that these old folks died. Gary Owens, I felt connected to because Gary Owens started his radio and voice broadcasting career in San Francisco, California on 960 AM, the station I used to do my show on for 4.5 years when I worked for Clear Channel in San Francisco. If you've ever heard clips of me doing my show The Week on 960 KNEW, it was later 960 KNEW. Originally, it was Green 960. And before that, it was the Progressive News with John Scott on 960 The Quake. That's what it used to be called when I first worked there. So it was a radio station that did, one of those things. It's corporations that own radio stations try to reinvent a shitty radio station. This is, like I said, I don't know. I don't claim to be an expert on a lot of stuff, but one thing I know about is radio. And corporations like Clear Channel, and to their credit, I don't know what else I'd do better. If they have a station that's not doing well in the ratings, they'll kind of kill it and reinvent it, blow it up, fire all the people that were on it, maybe, usually. Change the format, change the name of the radio station, the imaging, change the announcer voice, change the phone number, change the call letters sometimes even. That's a pretty drastic thing because it costs money and you have to go through the FCC. But stations like Clear Channel did it to the station 960 over and over again. And the latest incarnation of 960, as far as I understand, I have sources still in San Francisco, lots and lots and lots of friends in the media. And the latest ratings book from the not Nielsen. It is the Arbitron ratings company that measures who's listening to what radio stations. 960 has achieved a 0 share, meaning they cannot detect that anybody is really listening to 960 AM. Hey, say what I will, I know for a fact I had a measurable audience when I was on the air there. And it's only because I've seen the figures from those times. And my weekend show, for instance, had an audience that varied from 1,700 to 2,700 per show, roughly. That's not a big number if you know about this stuff, but people who have never been on the radio or never had their own show, never had 22,000 people a month or a week listening to them for 15 minutes out of an hour. That's how those measurements are taken. It's very confusing. I'll go into that some night when I feel like it. I don't feel like it tonight, but I do feel like sort of talking about it sometime, because I feel like one thing people don't understand is how ratings are measured now. I should just take a minute and talk about it since I feel like it. I really don't feel like it, but I will. Ratings used to be measured by a booklet. And you would take a pencil and the booklet that you would get sent from the ratings company and be like, I listen to NPR every morning when I'm driving to work. I listen to 15 minutes of news every evening when I'm coming home from work. And I listen to Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR on Saturday. Something like that. You should fill in what you listen to. And you're supposed to do it day by day or sort of at the time you're listening. But usually people do it once. At the end of the 2-week period, they'll sort of fill in and just sort of fake it. I think they get $5 or $20 or depending on which company is asking for their ratings information. The problem with the booklet approach is people want to seem smart. And so when the old-fashioned way of taking ratings was done, people would inflate how much news they listened to. They'd inflate how much NPR they would listen to. And suddenly they switched to a little pager. Remember what a pager is? A little box that you clip onto your purse or clip onto your belt, and it listens to the radio you're listening to. That is to say, this box can hear, and it can differentiate between all the radio stations in your market. And, you know, they have a few thousand of these boxes out there in the community, and people are listening. And if you are in a store that is playing Star 101.3, and you're in that store for 15 minutes and the music is playing overhead, even if you don't listen to it, you have that little clippy thing on your belt, that radio station gets credit for that, you having listened to that radio station for 15 minutes. And it's impossible, it's not impossible, but it's a much different system, and it's a lot harder to fake it out and sort of pretend like you listen to the news if you don't. It's a lot harder to sort of, boost the ratings of stations that maybe aren't getting the audience that they claim that they're getting. That's what happened to the radio station that was called KGO, 810 AM. If you know anything about this, then you probably don't need to be told. But essentially what happened was they switched rating systems, and overnight this radio station, KGO 810, went from like first place to like 12th overnight. And that's a hell of a big difference when you're talking about number of people who are listening to your radio station, especially if you thought you were number one. You could charge these extremely expensive advertising rates, and now you're number 12. There's 11 AM stations other than you who have more people listening. Like, I mean, you got to be kidding me. Those advertising rates plummeted. They had to fire a bunch of people. I still have, people who I know, friends of mine, who went through that termination from KGO. Many of them ended up working with me at Clear Channel on 910 and 960, mostly 910 AM. Blah, 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 blah. Media. The long and short of it is that rating systems no longer are as easily misled. And so if you have a job at a radio station that isn't in the number one or even in the top 10, let's say, then maybe your job is more at risk. Certainly the stations that don't have higher ratings turn over their staff a lot more frequently. I managed to last for 7.5 years at Clear Channel in San Francisco. Actually, almost 8 years. It was really closer to 8 years, I think, if you want to be a stickler. I just call it 7.5 because it's a nice round figure, sort of. Yeah, that was kind of the cherry on top of my broadcasting career so far. I got chances to do things at Clear Channel that I did not get to do in any other place. And even though they fired me, I'm not afraid to say that it was the best job I ever had. It wasn't perfect. No job's perfect, but I worked hard. I worked my ass off. I gave and gave and gave to that company. And, I forgot how, even though they're your family, it's one big family if you work at Clear Channel, until a day comes, you got to be fired. And then it's like, yes, we're actually professionals. We're actually here to work. And you are being escorted out of the building now. It happens. It's kind of what big corporations do. I'm not bitter about it. I would like to get back into the broadcasting business. It's kind of the reason I'm doing this show is because I just felt like a need to keep my chops up. Practice, make sure I'm not saying and which I was in those early shows. God, I cannot fathom that people are even watching this. I mean, very few people are watching at any one time live when I'm talking to the computer here, but a hell of a lot of people, from my expectations, are watching replays of it. The first show had like 12 views. The second show had like 20 views, I think. Like 16 when I first got up in the morning, and then a few more after that. I cannot fathom that people are watching me blather and blather and just sort of not really rant. I feel like rant is the wrong word because I'm not here angrily yelling at the computer. Um, I would be obviously paid a lot more, and I would have much higher ratings if I was yelling and screaming at the computer, raising my fist. But you know, it is what it is, and I am who I am, and I'm not going to dumb it down, and I'm not going to sort of sensationalize. If only I could sensationalize, right? If only I could work for a sports network or an entertainment news network and just get paid and not worry about journalistic integrity. That's the reason I'm not rich, is because I'm too journalistically integritous. I just made up a word. Integritous is not a real word. I just made it up, but it was fun. Let's talk a little more about the media. This is Canadian media. I'm amused by this story, though, because they had a Fox News channel in the North, Canada, right? Canada, like we have here, Fox News in America. In Canada, it was called Sun News, I believe, the Sun News channel. And I'm really waiting for this article to come up on the Toronto Star. Essentially, it was that they finally went off the air. They were not averaging nearly as many viewers as they were claiming to have averaging. I believe the actual number of viewers on this Fox News, analog, the Fox News of Canada, was like 500 people at any one time. Like they had nobody watching this station. And I don't know. That's funny to me. Hey, I don't even have 500. I'm jealous of the Sun News audience. That's pretty pathetic. I don't know what I think about 50 Shades of Grey. I don't think I care. I just really don't think I care, like, about these, women discovering kinky sex, whatever the hell. Like, I don't really care much about anything that started as fan fiction for Twilight. And I just feel like, I must not be the demographic target audience for 50 Shades of Grey, because I am absolutely flummoxed by that. Absolutely confused. One thing I watched on TV tonight that was kind of amusing. Maybe you'll have a similar experience. By the way, give me a call if you feel like it. Make sure the number is actually what it says. Yeah, 310-776-5869. That is 310-776 Kunz, if you are not paying very close attention. And you can just give me a call. I'm just going to pick it up on my phone right here and answer the call, assuming I get a call. But it is actually working. So yeah, you can give me a call. One of the things I watched tonight on TV was the Charlie Brown special. It was produced the year I was born, 1970. And it's really funny because it was an hour of Charlie Brown, right? The Charlie Brown Valentine's Day special, the one from the year I was born, and then one from like the year 2009 or something, one that's like 5 years old. And that first one was good. I really actually enjoy the hell out of the one that's the classic one where Charlie Brown doesn't get any Valentines. I was actually really emotional. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about that and just sort of let my hair down for a second, because I'm just testing to see if I was actually working. And yes, I actually can see. One of the things I watched tonight on TV was Charlie Brown. There we go. Can you see myself? There I am. It's me watching me. All right, what a goofball thing. But yeah, Charlie Brown, and I got emotional because the situation was. What was the situation in the Charlie Brown special? Charlie didn't get any Valentines, and he was sad. Charlie Brown is sad because he didn't get any Valentines. It was a classroom full of people giving Valentines. You put them all in a big box, and then Schroeder, I think, goes around through all the class, Army mail call style, going, Lucy, you have a letter. Pigpen, you have a letter, on and on and on. And Charlie's like, anything for Charlie Brown? No. He was hoping, I think, the little red-haired girl was going to send him a Valentine. And nobody sent him a Valentine, and it ended that way. Like, it was not sort of the happy ending exactly, not for Valentine's Day anyway. Then, racked with guilt, a couple of the girls, I think Violet and Lucy, come and want to give Charlie Brown one of their Valentines. He's like, here, Charlie, but we felt really bad about not giving you a Valentine, so I crossed my name off of this one and giving it to you. And my bleeding heart liberal, I'm like, oh my God, that's so sweet. He's giving you one of her Valentines. And then she is interrupted by Schroeder. Schroeder steps in between Charlie Brown and Violet. He's like, he doesn't need your, charity. Where were you yesterday? You're giving him a used Valentine. Who do you think you are? Like, you really let loose. And I'm like, dude, that is so cool of Schroeder to step in and, try and defend Charlie Brown. But then I'm thinking, Charlie Brown, it's still not getting him any Valentines. Like, maybe he wanted it. Like, are you sure that's what Charlie Brown wants it? And so then I'm like, oh, how sweet she's giving him a Valentine. And I'm like, oh, how sweet he's stuck up for Charlie Brown. Then Charlie Brown steps in and surprises me a third time in 15 seconds on this 1970, this cartoon I've been watching ever since I was born. And Charlie Brown's like, no, I'll take it. Never mind, Schroeder. Thank you. I'll just take this and, and I'll be happy that I got a Valentine all this year. And, it's a cartoon. It's a Charlie Brown thing. But I was totally like, Charlie Brown, dude. Classic. But not just classic. Like, I felt bad for the kid. Like, everybody wants to get a Valentine. I don't think I'm getting a Valentine this year. Even a used one. And that's because I'm kind of having unusual circumstances. It's weird. I'm sort of taking a few months of sabbatical from being a teacher. I may end up going back to Mexico. I still don't know. There's a couple of jobs now I'm sort of holding out to make sure I didn't make the cut. And let's see. I mean, jobs from all over. I've applied at so many places it would blow your mind. Everything from the Weather Channel to Google News in Boston to, radio stations in San Francisco. Something happened. The KGO, the radio station I was talking about earlier, stupid. I totally had a thing happen a couple of weeks ago. It was like when I was in Denver for New Year's. People were like, I can't believe KGO hired this guy instead of you, cBas. And it's, excuse me. Excuse me. I'm going to have some more Mountain Dew here if you don't mind. By the way, you're watching cBas After Dark, brought to you by Belch Beer. Oh, I couldn't do it. I needed a burp. That was supposed to be Belch Beer. Have some Belch Beer today. Belch Beer. That fizzled out. That's a joke I'm stealing from Phil Hendry, but I really like that joke. What was I talking about? Denver, New Year's. Yeah, if you're watching, remind me, because I totally don't remember what I was freaking saying a minute ago. But I have a list of topics here to rescue me. So if you want to call, please feel free, by the way, 310-776-Kunz. If you have a cell phone with any kind of regular plan, I'm pretty sure that's not going to cost you any money to call. I don't have an 800 number, pardon me. Like I say, I'm in between jobs at the moment, but it is a good thing. All right, let's go back. I'm getting texts from my one of my buddies who's watching who says I should shut the fuck up about Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey. Apparently, 50 Shades of Grey and Twilight are the best thing since sliced bread, and cBas needs to put a sock in it, essentially. Here's the thing. Please let me say this. Holding out for a job. Thank you, Patrick. That is what I was talking about. But what I wanted to say about the 50 Shades of Grey and Twilight, when I say I don't like something, I'm not trying to say you shouldn't do it. When I say I don't like sweet and salty flavors together in my mouth at the same time, I'm not saying people who do like it are bad. I think they have no taste, but I think it's maybe me that might be the one with no taste also. I'm not exactly afraid of being the weirdo. I've been the weirdo all my life, especially as far as sort of being a slightly picky eater. I'm one of the least picky eaters I know. This is my one rule: sweet and salty, no sweet and salty in my mouth at the same time. I know people who are way, way, way pickier, so it's not like I'm gonna, crucify. I don't drink alcohol. I don't, stay home. I go out with people at bars, and friends of mine will have a margarita or whatever. I went to this one restaurant with my friend Kate. She's like, "Do you mind if I have a margarita?" I'm like, "Do I mind? We're in a bar. Like, of course, go for it. Just because it's me doesn't mean you can't. Enjoy yourself." I just, to each his own, right? Every kitty has their ball of string. Every dog has their stick. Alcohol is not my stick. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I did not mean to hate on Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey. It's just not my cup of tea, right? This is my cup of tea right here, which is now cold. What is it about Twilight I don't like? I'm getting the questions from the internet. Patrick won't call and talk on the cast here. You can, though. 310-776-5869. If this is not live, by the way, that number will not work. It will probably go to voicemail. I mean, if I'm up, I'll pick up the phone and be happy to talk to you, but I'm much happier to talk to people, I'm much more available free to talk, all night long if you feel like, on my cBas After Dark stupid video podcast. What is it about Twilight? I mean, I like the hotness. There's lots of hot characters and hot actors and stuff in that show. Something for everybody. I think the girls are probably hot and the guys are hot, and it's really no question about that. But I just don't care. It's the thing. I'm a specialist. Okay, this is what it has to boil down to. I'm a specialist when it comes to things that I like. People put science fiction and fantasy together as one thing. There's a reason there's that slash there. It's because I like what's on the left of the slash, but not what's on the right. I don't give a shit about fantasy. I don't give a shit about vampires. I don't give a shit about zombies. I recognize that there's lots of hot men actors usually in the shows about vampires and stuff. That's great. There's hot men all over the place. It's like I could just have a picture of Taylor Lautner in the corner of the screen and much rather be watching Star Trek with a little square of Taylor Lautner over here. You know what I'm saying? I love science fiction. I'm not into fantasy. I'm not into superhero movies. That's sort of the other thing people are shocked about. You don't like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Aquaman? No. I'm just sort of not into comic book movies. The weird exception there is the Guardians of the Galaxy, which a couple of my teacher friends in Mexico took me to, and goddamn it wasn't like the funniest movie I think I've seen in 5 years. Like, it completely surprised me and was more awesome than I ever expected it to be in a million years. And here's how I judge if I'm not having a good time at the movie. If I do this, usually I wear a watch. If I look at my watch at any point during the movie, I'm pretty sure it's not a good movie. It's not something I'm enjoying. If I'm wondering what time it is at any point, I looked at my watch about 500 times when I watched Rent, the movie. Oh boy, I'm actually getting my first call live on the air. Yes, you have called cBas After Dark. Good evening, Austin. You're on the air.
Patrick in Austin.
What's happening, Patrick in Austin? What has you even watching my show this evening? It's Friday night. Why aren't you out in Boston, Texas, at one of those bars I hear so much about on TV?
Because I am at home in bed, kicking back after a long week at work. But I was stimulated to call you after you were describing your feelings towards Twilight, and then ultimately culminating with the feelings towards zombies. You don't like The Walking Dead? Are you insane?
I'm not insane. I'm just not into zombies. I don't care. It's sort of like me in sports. I try hard to fake it. I tried to sample that stuff, and I just don't care. I'm just not into zombie shows. There is one exception for the zombie thing. I love that movie Shaun of the Dead, which is more of a comedy zombie movie than like a regular zombie movie. The reason I like it is because it's so fucking hilarious. But Walking Dead never caught me. Game of Thrones doesn't interest me at all. Twilight and the weird thing is Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. I saw all of the Lord of the Rings movies, and those are mildly okay. I sort of tolerate them. I don't dislike them, but I don't love them. And then there's the Harry Potter movies, which I never saw a single one of.
So I'm intrigued. I'm surprised because I kind of thought I knew you. But I'm learning things here. So you are devoted to the science fiction aspect of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Traveling the universe, embracing science and make-believe, and also expressing the ideas, just all the possibilities of the universe. But anything that's outside of actual reality then?
Outside of actual reality then. I don't think...
Maybe a best way to put it is things that could actually be versus things that already possible?
I would say no, though, in a way, because Star Wars is something I love also, right? I'm not a Star Trek and not Star Wars person. I'm all into Star Wars, except for those new 3 movies, which kind of everybody thinks are stupid. The ones with Jar Jar Binks, right?
But I feel like that's totally legit. I mean, there's got to be life out there.
Well, I think there's life out there, yeah. And I mean, I see what you're saying. So, yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to define as fantasy, then yeah, I guess if science fiction is something that could happen and fantasy is something that really couldn't happen in the real world, maybe that's why my brain finds it boring. Again, it's like sweet and salty foods in my mouth at the same time. I don't seek out to be this way. This is just what I like and what I don't like, and what my brain finds engaging and what it doesn't find engaging. And people are often horrified to find out. Like Dennis Leary told the story of the movie Titanic. Did you see Titanic, Patrick?
Of course I've seen Titanic.
What do you think about? Do you love Titanic, or do you not like to?
I love Titanic.
Okay.
It's a great movie. I've seen that movie so many times, and honest to God, looking back, I actually don't know why I've seen it so many times. It's a really long movie.
I was just going to say, Dennis Leary's story, and this is what I find funny, and I actually told my students this story a few times when I was teaching in Mexico. Titanic is such a long freaking movie, and part of the reason is it's in real time. They wanted to make the movie, the boat sank in the actual amount of time it took to sink the boat. I'm like, and that is our first fucking mistake, because it's boring as hell. The first hour is, okay, they're sinking. This is really great. Then in the second hour, I took a nap and I fell asleep. And then I woke up in the third hour and the boat is still sinking and they're still, it's just like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm just not, my sister was all into Titanic going, oh, it's in real time. And I'm like, yes, and that's why it sucks in my brain. I could not have been more bored. I'm not a Leo DiCaprio fan. I think it's at least 3 hours. I'm pretty sure it's close to 3 hours. That's not unusual anymore. Are you into movies that are over 3 hours?
Not usually, but I don't know. I always took a special interest in Titanic as a kid. Like, I just thought it was the most fascinating thing ever. I actually even went on a vacation to Las Vegas with a friend, and we went to see Thunder Down Under, but one of the other tickets we could get, we had 2 tickets for a discount price. We found out the Titanic Museum was there, and I actually saw a bunch of artifacts and a chunk of the ship.
Okay, when you're talking about Titanic, the actual Titanic, and the history of it and stuff, then I can see an actual exhibit of like parts or things related to it and costumes of the era and so forth. That would be interesting to me. But sitting there watching baby-faced Leo DiCaprio, sort of, I just no, I'm not interested. But what's the other thing you see? What was the one movie that Leo DiCaprio did that I didn't hate? I can't remember.
A lot of his movies are pretty good. What's that one? Wolf of Wall Street. That's pretty amazing.
I didn't see that one. I didn't see The Gangs of New York. I didn't see Catch Me If You Can. I didn't see The Aviator. I've never.
These are good movies. Why aren't you seeing these?
Because I'm not a Leo DiCaprio fan. Like, I sort of, he turns me off.
Give Leo a chance, man. You gotta don't be like Rose. Don't let go. Hold on.
Are you quoting a song that I'm supposed to know now?
You're a Titanic fan, are you?
I'm really not.
Rose says she's not gonna let go, but she lets go.
Rose lets go, and then he dies. Spoiler alert, I guess I should say.
He's already dead, I guess. I mean, she lets go. She says she's not going to let go, and then she lets go because she's a pope.
Did you see The Perfect Storm?
I think I did see that. Isn't that the one where it's like a story, it's sad, and then everyone dies?
That is correct. I was just going to say...
No happy ending?
I was just going to say that is the movie that does not have the happy ending. The funny thing is, it actually happened, right? It's actually a true story. Movie inspired by true events, whatever you want to say. And I, in a radio job in the year that this movie came out, got in some pretty serious trouble because I went on the radio and said something very casually about them all dying at the end, because everybody died in the end of this. There is no reprieve. There is no happy ending. And God, we got mobbed with telephone calls at that radio station going, who does he think he is? Sebastian just ruined that movie for everyone. And it did not even occur to me to not say that. Like, we didn't have the term spoiler alert yet. This was like 1999, I think. But yeah, I got in some big trouble for saying exactly what you just said. But of course, now the movie's been around for almost 20 years, so it's no big deal.
I could see people getting frustrated with the movie aspect, but with history, I mean, it's something that happens.
Yeah.
You can't, like, story based on, it's like that movie, I haven't seen it, but and I don't know the name, but it's about that couple that are out scuba diving, and then they go to the bottom, and they're swimming, and they come back up the boat's on.
Yeah, I know the movie you mean.
Everybody knows that those people die, and that's why I've never seen the movie. I'm like, I can't watch these two people struggle for their life.
I can't watch that either. I watched a movie. This was the cause of a fight between my ex-boyfriend, actually, and I. Not anything that ended anything, but we watched the movie. It is a movie with Ewan McGregor, and it's like him and his wife and his two kids are vacationing in like one of the island Asian nations, Singapore or Thailand, or it might have been Japan, but I don't think so. It might have been like Vietnam, but they're like the mom and dad and two kids are in this like foreign land, and a tsunami comes. And
the Impossible.
Is that, I don't know what it's called, but man, it is a grim motherfucking movie, and it is a downer of the worst sort. And about 45 minutes through that movie, I looked at my boyfriend and I was like, no more, turn this fucking shit off. Like, I just because it's true, and just because it's true, it might be compelling, but it's like, this is like human misery on the screen. And I don't know. I don't really feel like I'm interested in it. Like I was like, get this movie off the screen. That's all I can tell you. It was really not, it's the same reason I don't want to see, what's the movie about the army guy, the sniper, right?
Oh, I actually, isn't that a newer one?
It's coming. I think it's out like in theaters right now.
I'm not sure the name of the movie, but I do want to say one thing really quick about that movie we were just talking about, It's Possible. You are talking about the one where they're all at school and then the wave hits and they get separated.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so that is the true story to such an extent that if you actually watch the movie and then you read the people, like their accounts, the movie is precisely what happens.
I'm sure.
To a T.
I'm sure.
Every single thing, as small as like the wings, the processes, the people they meet, the things they even say, like they mimic everything in that movie. It was the word you said, chilling. It was grim as fuck. It was, to the point where it's like I felt like I was living it, and it was not good. I was living it. It was so real that I was like, turn it off. I don't care. I don't care what happens to them. I don't care if they live or die. I don't want to know anymore. I don't want to see, bloody people screaming on the screen continuously for 60 days or however goddamn long that thing went. It went on forever, and it was excruciating. I got in a fight over that movie. It changes you, and even learning their story can change you a bit. It's pretty amazing what happens with people.
And that's fine. I am okay with reading. I'm okay with reading about that story in text form on Wikipedia.
I can respect that. See, I'm the kind of person where it's exactly the reason why I'm sitting at home right now on the phone with you and not out at the club is that I'm a movie guy. I'm a Netflix guy. I'm the guy that's at home powering through the entire Battlestar Galactica series in a matter of 2 days. Hey,
I support Battlestar Galactica and I support binge watching of series, so I'm 100%.
Oh, actually, wait, 2 weeks. 2 days is a bit aggressive. I don't think that's even possible.
You might have to have more than one TV going at the same time and, a good strong couple pots of coffee, but you can do it. So what was the other thing I was going to say? The other thing, like sort of super real movie. The American Sniper, right. No, that's the thing is I have absolutely no interest in seeing that movie. Not because I'm against the troops or, not because I think he was a bad guy at all. I think there's been some cases where some of the things he said turned out to not be true. There's a news guy in America right now who's in big trouble for saying things that turned out to not be true. But this sniper did his job and, protected the country and killed the bad guys as best as possible. And I feel like that's cool. And it sucks that he got murdered by a guy with PTSD and stuff. But I have absolutely no desire, nor will I go read that book or see that movie, because at the end of it, it's like you're getting up from a funeral.
I cannot believe you just gave away the ending of that brand new movie.
Again, it happened in real life. The trial is happening right now. You can't possibly get angry with me for something that was spoiled on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
See, I think this is why I'm enjoying your cast here so much, is that, all the stuff you're saying, I don't know anything about it, because
I'm highly controversial.
American.
I'm highly controversial.
American, and I just sit at home and I watch things that are online already, and I don't see the news. So I actually had no idea anything about that until the movie came out. It's horrible.
No, it's not horrible. I mean, here's the thing. The news is getting so grim. Even those of us with calluses on our feelings, the people who've done the reporting on rapes and murder, horrible, horrible stories on national TV and just having to talk about really rotten things, get calloused. You get sort of desensitized to the horror of it. And regular people, if it's not their job to know about that stuff, just it's completely natural, I feel like, to want to not know about the guy who got burned alive by ISIS, or there's all kinds of really shitty, horrible, down-earth topics of a million varieties. Some of them are important to know despite the fact that they're unpleasant, but I think it's perfectly normal and perfectly natural for someone who's, working at, tell me the category of your job. I want to say you're a computer professional, essentially.
I'm an IT support tech for Whole Foods Market.
Got it. Okay, so there's not much reason for you to pay attention to the nightly news or, any of that stuff. I mean, local news is a different story. Like, it probably helps to know what the weather is going to do wherever anybody lives. But as far as the national news, where who's running for the next presidential race and stuff, you don't care.
I feel like Siri tells me what I need to know.
Siri tells you hey, you know what? I love Siri. I'm a big fan of Siri. I just only happen to have one iPhone out of the 4 devices that I have surrounding me here.
Is that the iPhone that we're on right now? It doesn't look like an iPhone.
No, the one we're on right now is my Flex. It's the one, if you see, it's actually curved.
I'm not thinking about that.
And it fits my butt cheeks divinely, and it's also, I think, stronger and resists being broken.
Okay, well, I guess if you're keeping it with the butt, with the half curve.
Well, I'm skinny, so I don't have a butt, but we don't need to necessarily put that on the internet. There's some room for imagination on the internet, I feel like. So, okay, well, since we're talking, let's talk about what it's like in Austin. You've lived there not even 6 months.
I've actually been here for 8 months.
Oh, God.
You want me to tell about Austin? Well, let's see. Oh, goodness.
Because you were what you said a second ago intrigued me, and that was the following. Something about going out to the clubs. I don't picture Texas as a place where anybody gay gets to go out in public ever. Austin, I'm told, is different, but I still feel like Austin, it's still in Texas. So tell me about the gay clubs in Austin.
Yeah, let me get rid of that perception. There are a lot of actual gay bars and clubs in Austin, Texas.
Now, I'm not a gay bar. Now, I'm seriously not a gay bar guy, so that's still not my thing. But that's good to hear.
It's different. It's different here.
What do you mean?
You walk into a gay bar, Texas. Think about it. You're in Texas. You walk into a gay bar here, and yes, there are the normal people there, but there's also these gay bars. They're like bars. There's the dance floor around the corner, but in the front, there's this leather chairs, and there's a bunch of normal guys, and they're watching football, and it's like a gay bar.
Gay guys watching football at a gay bar. Okay.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I actually walked in, and I was getting a drink. I was out in the back patio, but it's just, I don't know, it's a different atmosphere here in Austin. And I've got to say that outside of just the gay bars, there's 4 or 5 of them, Austin is laced with just tons of live music in every single bar, whether it's gay, straight, whatever you're doing. Every single bar has a stage, has live music nightly, always playing, and almost every bar has a rooftop deck where you go to the third level, and you're looking at the skyscrapers and moving to a live band. I mean, it's pretty wonderful, actually. And as someone from the Bay Area, I might tell you that I was really surprised by everyone here. I mean,
Okay.
it's just one of my way. Like, I can grab. I was on a date with somebody a few months back, and we went to a couple different bars. I'm not kidding you, I had 10 people on Facebook. I had 3 different groups of people actually grab me as I was walking by, pulling me pictures, buying me drinks. These were like just regular people. Half of them were lesbians. That's nuts, though. I mean, I don't even know. People are just so friendly here. It's unbelievable.
That's certainly inspiring to hear. I mean, I don't know why. I think it would be other than that, but you know, I mean, it sounds like it's got a vibrant kind of gay. I mean, the gay scene, using the finger quotes, always drove me fucking crazy because, like, the Bay Area gay scene is extremely exclusionary and unpleasant and sort of judgmental, and there's 8 million bad things that are true of the gay community in the San Francisco Bay Area. I cannot say enough bad things about them. But what's that?
I second that.
I'm glad to hear that. Okay. But I feel like other towns, such as the gay community in San Diego, right? The gay community in, well, Tucson or Phoenix or Portland, Oregon. I mean, these kind of smaller towns that have gigantic, you know, gay communities and big progressive sort of societies and stuff like that are kind of where I feel like I probably actually belong, even though Bay Area is probably always going to be home to me. Like, I feel like I could probably survive in a place like Austin. I could probably survive in a place like Phoenix if I ended up living there. Tempe, God, I would kill to work and live in Tempe again. I drove through there recently on the way to the Renaissance Festival. God damn, if it wasn't exactly like I remember, if not better. Like, there was just, I mean, just the people there were cool, and I miss, you know, the university itself and sort of just the city and the street signs. It's all little things, but I was like, oh, I became super nostalgic when I was back in Phoenix.
So I had to fly home recently a family emergency.
When you say home, I you mean the Bay Area, right?
No, I'm talking home, like where I'm from, Boise, Idaho. And we flew out there, well, I did, for a family emergency. And I actually, after everything was done and we put the pieces back together, I was able to spend some extra time with some family in Boise. And they took me out to see the club scene, the bar scene. And I've got to tell you, I really was shocked because I spent every moment before that missing the Bay Area and missing.
Yeah.
And then I discovered something. After I got done experiencing life in Boise and thinking about how my life could have been, all I could think about was getting home to Austin, Texas. And I've come to realize that once you let this place in, it's more than a place that you can come to survive, thrive here. I mean, the rest of Texas has its flaws. And, I mean, you know, anyone will tell you that. I mean, there are cities where there's definitely still hatred towards gays, towards people of color, everything under the sun. I'm sure there's somebody here that has a problem with somebody. But I've also noticed that I think that's fading because I feel like people are less prone to be cruel in many places, even if they don't agree with your lifestyle choices or the things that you are or who you are or what you are. And I think that it's really prevalent here. Like, I think if someone, especially like you, if you gave this place a chance, I mean, it could probably really blow your mind away. And it takes people like us coming here to make change happen and to make Texas a wonderful place to be.
Okay, let me ask you some questions specific to my situation. I got like 8 minutes before I'm going to get off the air, but tell me about this. Tell me about you said you haven't watched much news. Have you watched any local news at all or listened to any local news on the radio at all?
I do listen to local news. Actually, every morning on my way to work, I listen to a radio show.
Okay.
Called, I feel like it's called, but they kind of talk about things happening in Texas, and there's a lot of pride here. Yeah.
I get that.
Everyone's proud to be from Texas if they're from Texas.
Yeah.
And there's a subculture of people that are super proud to be Austinites. And you better know that if you weren't born here, people that are born here get really annoyed when you call yourself an Austinian or Austinite or
They get annoyed?
They get annoyed. You're not an Austinite. You're an expat.
I see. So, but you say they're pretty welcoming once you make clear that you're a transplant?
Well, I mean, no one's gonna like directly target you or anything. But I just heard of especially on the radio, like they even like the host give one of them a hard time because she goes calling herself from Austin. And they've even had radio shows where people from Austin call in and tell her, "No, you're not from Austin. I'm from Austin."
Wow. Awesome. Well, I'm just glad you called because we killed like the last half hour with I didn't have to go blabbing on and on and on about like all these downer topics.
I will say, you were going to say something though. What were you going to ask me? I guess you're not talking about.
What was I going to ask you? Oh, I was going to ask you like, what? Yeah, you mean about like Austin and the gay culture there or whatever?
Yeah.
I mean,
you were saying something for you.
Well, I meant specifically to my situation as far as looking for a job in the news business. Like, I mean, does it seem like a place where people give a shit about their community? Like, I mean, you said there's pride. Pride is good, but I mean, is there sort of participation? Is there stuff going on that would be worthy of local news? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I think I would have to get back to you on that. And actually, maybe I'll take that as an excuse to actually pay more attention.
Well, the only reason I ask is because of the places I came from, Mexico, right? Like Mexico is, I mean, so full of culture, it'd blow your mind. Different cultures in different places. And the town I lived in at first was 450 years old. And the pirates, the island I lived in at the very end there was like, known notoriously in the 1700s and 1800s for like being a pirate hangout island. Like it was totally overrun by pirates and stuff. Like it was wild. And I didn't realize, this is kind of going more global now, but I feel like I had it figured out at the end as far as being a teacher and knowing how to get on the bus and get a hamburger or get tacos or, go to the mall, anything I wanted to do, up to and including go on gay dates, by the way, was entirely possible and doable if I wanted it. And if I didn't, I could just chill at my house watching cable TV or surfing on the internet, just like here. I mean, I had it fucking figured out at the end. And it was such a whirlwind having to come back and, sort of, in time for the holidays and in time for this wedding and stuff, that I didn't really realize that I had it figured out until I was already gone. And then I started missing it desperately. And that's kind of where I'm at now is, God, I miss Mexico. I want to move back so bad. But the problem is that job doesn't quite kind of keep me occupied enough. I need to be busy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not good if I have a lot of idle time on my hands. Shit like this show happens.
No. Yeah, well, if this kind of stuff happens, I don't think it's a bad thing. But as for Austin having, I just don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Well, then
it does have a lot of pieces to it. I will tell you that.
Yeah, I think it sounds like it.
I'll tell you that.
And I have like, yeah, and I have friends other than just you who have totally spent time, like has been living. My buddy Dion from when I lived before I lived in San Francisco. I lived in this small town 2.5 hours to the east called Sonora in the Sierra foothills, and it's like on the way to kind of Twainhart and ski resorts and stuff. It's not a very big town at all, but they have radio stations there, and I worked there for a while. And I always loved the smaller town experience much more. But one of my buddies I met in Sonora now lives and works and is raising his family in Austin, Texas, and seems to totally be digging it. So,
I just thought the one thing we do have here, I was telling you earlier, is live music, and there's festivals constantly. So maybe there is news to be had here. I mean, reviews and things to do because there's a lot happening.
I know there's stations. Well, you are going to have to do a little research. Call me back. I'm gonna be here until I end up getting a job of my dreams. I mean, here's the thing. I'm doing what I need to kind of stay alive out here. It's like it's up to me whether I want to end up going back to Mexico or give it a couple of months. And I decided I was going to give it a couple of months. But in the meantime, I'm going to be here pretty much every weeknight and just sort of farting around. The reason I'm doing it, well, the reason I started doing it was to have my creative outlet. The reason I keep doing it is because holy shit, people are watching, and I can tell. Like the Google Analytics and these numbers you can get on YouTube are amazing. I wake up in the morning and 16 people have seen my stupid, rambling blah blah hour of the previous night. I'm like, who the fuck watches? I would not watch me. Why is anybody watching me? But people totally are.
There you go. The secret of life. Become a YouTube star.
I guess that's what it is, right? I mean, it worked for David after The Dentist. It worked for that girl who wears too much lipstick and does that weird comedy character that I don't understand. So many people.
Jenna Marbles?
Yeah, that's her. That's her. Yeah, my sister likes her. My buddy Sarah likes her. I don't really understand what the fuck that's supposed to be, but there's so much I don't understand. Hey, it's a big internet, so there's at least room for the likes of me. And I have stuff I want to say. God dang it.
Okay, well, say it, my friend.
I'm going to say it, and Rage Against the Machine, give gay Texas cowboy in Austin a big kiss for me. And we'll talk again. Yes. In fact, see if you can find twins, because that'll be great. We'll just go out on a double date, and it'll be awesome. And if you don't find one before you end up coming to Phoenix, please let me know when you're coming to Phoenix, because I will take you all around downtown. Have you ever been to Phoenix before?
I've been to the airport.
The airport doesn't count. Yeah, you gotta hit Arizona State. I gotta take you all around that campus. I mean, I'm in love, so I can show you all the places to boy watch. And I have said this before. I will say it again. There are hot men on college campuses all over the country. Nowhere in the world are the men at the college boys hotter than at Arizona State University. I don't understand why, but something about it. And I've been to the colleges all up and down California and in many other states, but the only place I've ever felt like, holy shit, they're everywhere, Arizona State and Tempe. So believe me, it's not going to be an experience you regret, my friend, at all.
Okay, it's a date.
Excellent. When is that going to be? Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay, well, keep me posted, because in the next month or so, beautiful, because I will come and I will do this show from there, and I will put you on next to me, and we will take calls.
Oh, God.
It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. All right, my friend, you have a good night, and watch an extra episode of Battlestar Galactica for me.
That sounds like a plan. You do.
All right, good night.
Good night.
And good night to you, my viewer. Like I say, this is the weekend edition. I'm probably going to take Saturday night off. I may actually switch to doing it like Sunday night through Thursday night, and then taking Friday night and Saturday night off. I may do a weekend edition, as depends on kind of my boredom level, my energy level, the amount of stuff there is to talk about, and so on and so forth. But I have more topics to bring up to you. And I will do that here on cBas After Dark. As I said, you can call that number on the screen at any time. If it's during the day, there's a chance it'll go to voicemail, but there's a chance it'll just get me on the phone. It's kind of always been a public number, and I've kind of always wanted to have that contact with people who might have a news story. Keep in mind, I'm a news reporter, right? And I'm looking for the big news story to break all news stories. What I'm going to talk about next time, by the way, if anybody's still with me, Philip Perea, Perea. He's a guy who killed himself in front of Fox News headquarters in New York a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month and a half ago by now. It was in December, I think. Really sad story. Kind of a unbalanced guy mentally, but unbalanced in the small amount, like most of us are unbalanced in some way. People talk about how they have a little OCD. They have to have their, hands washed a certain way, or they have to do certain things certain ways. Most of it's joking. People, talk about if they have Asperger's. They think Sheldon on Big Bang Theory has Asperger's. This was a guy who actually had OCD and ADHD on top of it. Worked at a TV station, struggled with the management there to the point where they were kind of bullying him, and he chronicled all of it. It was in the state of Texas, actually. I think it was even in Austin, Patrick. So I'm going to talk about this poor guy who was kind of railroaded out of his job at this Fox TV affiliate in Austin, not working for Fox News the way it sounds. It's not like that. But the steps that he took are astounding. The recordings that he made and the YouTube videos that he made blow your mind. And what scares me the most about it is that he I was on his side. He chronicles, he has like a 7-chapter thing with multiple YouTube videos per chapter. Four videos in chapter 1, 3 in chapter 2. And then chapter 6 is all of the original unedited recordings that he made. He recorded every meeting he ever had with anybody, including his immediate supervisor and his HR person and the general manager of the TV station. All of it, he had his iPhone rolling tape and was going back over it like a person with OCD would, clearly. A really sad story, but really profound because it's got these overtones. He killed himself. He wanted retribution for Fox having driven him to this. He wanted them to pay $1 billion to his 2 surviving sisters. But like I say, the scariest part is that I was with him. I was on his side until about a half a way through the story. And finally, things started getting a little bit crazy. And I started seeing how, frankly, the people he was complaining about that were railroading him were actually right. And kind of, it's such a sad story. I wished I'd had a chance to talk to Philip Perea before he killed himself, because it's one of those things. I've been where he's at, I've been fired by corporate jobs, and it's not a pleasant thing, but God, I wish I could have reached out to him on this show or somehow managed to, get a hold of him before he died. But he ended up blowing his brains out in front of Fox News main headquarters in New York, and then posting, like the time delay posting, one more YouTube video. It was surreal, and it's sad, and it's scary, and it's a story I'm going to talk about with you Sunday night, 48 hours from now, right here on cBas After Dark. I'm a little over my time. I realize it's not radio or television, therefore I can go any time I want. But I'm going to wrap it up. Please have a great weekend. Tonight, that was Friday the 13th. If you got a Valentine, kiss them for me. If not, buy someone a card. Buy somebody who might not otherwise get a Valentine and send them a card. Don't be like Charlie Brown. Don't let someone else be like Charlie Brown. Get a card and give it to somebody who might not expect it, and have a laugh, Spread the love, share the love, heal the world, blah, blah, blah. It is 12:05 in the mountains. It is 11:05 p.m., Friday the 13th on the west coast of the United States. I believe it's something like 0700 GMT. I'm signing off, and we will see you Sunday night right here on cBas After Dark.